If you're entering anything where there's an existing marketplace against large entrenched competitors, then your product or service needs to be much better than theirs. It can't be a little bit better, because then you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer and they say, why would you buy it as a consumer? You're always going to buy the trusted brand unless there's a big difference.
Starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. So when people tell me, well, what can you do to encourage entrepreneurs to start companies? I'm like, if you need encouragement, don't start a company.
AMT Hat Trick series video number 2. I'm going to get back into some Automag history. I'm going to talk about some key players, Larry Grossman, Max Guerra. We're going to talk about the Terminator. We're going to talk about Blish Lock. I want to talk about Delayed Blowback, all while covering AMT's Automag II, semi-automatic, 22 Magnum Rimfire pistol. Let's check it out. Mill Serp Garage. AMT Automag II. Doesn't really have much in common with the original Automag. The original Automag was its own separate design. We covered it a little bit in video number 1. This is more like the, John Browning design. You know what I mean? We got a familiar, barrel bushing here, looking setup with the, guide rod, exposed hammer back here, slide. This looks like just a blowback pistol, right? It's 22. It's 22 Magnum, but it's 22, and we have a fixed barrel here. Barrel doesn't drop, barrel doesn't do anything, so you would think blowback, delayed blowback. This is going to be really cool to check out. Those of you guys into the tech stuff are really going to enjoy this one. This guy is, the second incarnation of the Automag, but more of the more modern AMT stuff. Again, like in video number 1, it's the Irwindale guns that really jump out at me. These are the ones from a little bit later on, you know what I mean? The late 80s into the 90s. Harry Sanford, the founder of AMT, he died in 1996 of a heart attack, and that's where the company ended. The company started way, way back. AMT, let's say, started way, way back in the 70s. So you could take a look through their history and you see all these different buyouts and all these different name changes and all these different manufacturing spots, and you hear a lot of rumors like, oh, they went out of business and this. They never went out of business. They might have gone bankrupt a bunch of times and changed locations and did it, but it was Harry that he was in charge of everything the whole way. And my favorites are towards the end when they really settled down. He had some really cool people behind him. Larry Grossman was the guy that designed this thing and was a really big designer for him. Take a quick look at the patent here. So the patent was granted, this was filed in 1987. This gun I can date from 1993 to 1996. And I can do that even though they were made from 87 to 99. They only had these 3-dot adjustable sights, came in 1993. And 1996 was when they started marketing them. Galena, it's when the company finally did sell. On Harry's death, his son sold the company. So this one I can date from 93 to 96. And this patent is for a pretty innovative gun. You could see the opening on the top of the barrel here. I'll explain that. So there's 3 different versions of this gun that, they're not just different barrel sizes. They're pretty different. It's wild how much different the 3 different versions are from each other, that they're almost standalone. So there's 3 different barrel sizes. Okay, we have a 6-inch, it's 150 millimeter, and a 4.5 inch, that's 110 millimeters. Those had 9 round detachable mags. And this guy, this is the compact model. It had its own proprietary 7-round magazine. And these barrels are 3.375 inches, or 85.7 millimeters. That's the barrel length here. But here's the thing about Harry Sanford and AMT is they got crazy. They went out there and they did something different. They tried to break new ground. They didn't just come out with safe stuff that everybody else was doing and just copy everybody else to just sell guns and make money. They did stuff nobody else was doing, and this is a perfect example. So let's delve into it here. So, like I said, did I say these were made from 1987 to 1999, we'll say, but really Harry died in 96. As far as I'm concerned, the company died with him. I think they kind of put together for a couple of years, they threw together some stuff that they might have had laying around or producing a little bit more, but it wasn't long before the company was sold off. If you see Galena on these things, that was really when the company was officially sold. There were other people, somebody else in charge. That it took death to get Harry, out of that, out of control of that company. And this guy I can date. Interesting enough, 87 to 99 is when they were made, but I know for a fact that they used a certain kind of sight. Where is it? They used a white outline millet adjustable sight until 1993, and then this 3-dot system kicked in late 1993, and like I said, since it's marked Irwindale, I know this goes to about 96 to 98. It could be somewhere in there, but we'll just say 96. I'm dating it somewhere between 93 and 96. They don't have serial number data, but you could just look at other ones like yours. If you look enough on Gunbroker or you poke around on websites and you look at enough of them and you see the serial numbers on them, you can kind of get an idea of where yours fell. This looks like it's a pretty early one because there's a 0 in the beginning of the serial number. So this one, it's probably, I would guess this one to be in the 93 to 94 range. That's just my guess. So yeah, these things were 24 ounces, the compact was. And they look like a blowback action, right? You look at these things and you just go like, yeah, the barrel's fixed, right? It's not like barrel doesn't drop down or anything. It's like your typical blowback guns. Just like we used to do. Remember, we used to take a dowel like this, and we used to push it down the barrel and say, well, this is the when you pull the trigger. So you pull the trigger down like you're releasing it. How does the action work? So if you push it, you'd see the barrel drop down, or you'd see some type of movement. Remember with the Savage, was it the 1914 pistol? You saw there was that rotation to the barrel. They all had the different types of delayed blowback and things you could, or even they had barrel like locking mechanisms. You could see just by pushing with a dowel was a good way to tell. This one, it's very deceiving because you just push it back and it's going to lock the slide back, and you go, yeah, it's just straight blowback. Not necessarily. There's a lot of different mechanics involved. Should we get into that right away? Well, let's let's just take a look at the patent for now. This is the patent. It's granted to Harry Sanford. November 3rd, 1987. Look, isn't that interesting that they actually have the Beretta 92 SB here listed. It's kind of like, I guess, for reference. This one, all I could find was the photographs. And I couldn't really find, where they actually have text. It's weird, these newer patents like this. I'm just starting to try to figure out how to get the actual text from it. But, yeah, but that's the patent right there. If you want to help me find out how, I'm not sure what this DES and then the number was. I don't know, but I did find this, which was good. But poking around trying to find something a little bit more comprehensive, I couldn't find anything. And the design for the blowback operation is what I really wanted to see in the patent, and it didn't have it there. Should we cover that right away? Let's see. Let's see what we got here as far as our information. Why not? Let's do it. This is what we have to cover. We have to cover the 22 Winchester Rimfire, number 1. We're going to cover Blish Lock, and we're going to cover this form of delayed blowback that we're using right here. So why don't we just take a closer look at the pistol itself, and then we'll do a little bit of takedown here. We'll take it apart as we're looking at it. So again, we're sticking with the heel release here. Harry was a big fan, apparently. And just like the backup that we just did, we're dealing with a heel release here. Now with these, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're getting it, get some magazines. Find the guy on Gunbroker that's selling it with some mags. These magazines for these AMTs are crazy expensive. See, that's the thing about AMT. Listen, if they're junk, how come every time I see one of these things for sale, like you're looking at them on Gunbroker, it's like, yeah, there's a couple that are cheap here and there, like certain models, you know what I mean? When you look at other stuff, like you're looking at like the hardboiler, long slide, whatever, these things are thousands of dollars. What kind of junk are you talking about? Because these people are certainly not charging the prices that you would pay for junk. Absolutely not. But like I was saying, it's even the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, they considered AMT back in the day one of the Ring of Fire companies that they called it. These were the guys that were known for large-scale manufacture of Saturday night specials. How they got a moniker like that, I mean, these were like such weird purpose-built firearms. I can't imagine somebody buying this and thinking like, this is like just some knock around, throw around gun. It's like they most certainly weren't. Sorry, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of companies out there that just produce junky knock around 9mm that are just, your basic average junk, like just to fire around. All these automags are just like weird and purpose built for like just to blow everybody's mind. It seemed like Harry just wanted to just do weird stuff, and it's not really, the Saturday night special thing doesn't really fit in with weird. But yeah, my advice to you is I found this guy with a bunch of mags. Just these mags are crazy expensive. You could buy 2 mags on eBay. You'll be paying as much as you paid for the whole gun. Trust me. So yeah, we have a thumb safety. Anybody familiar with 1911s? It's going to feel really comfortable here. We got a thumb safety here. We have a slide lock here. Functions nice, like no like struggling with your thumb to try to click that off. It comes off nicely. And yeah, some nice grippy finger grooves right here. Beautiful. Nothing that you're not going to be surprised by anything here. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, do not dry fire these things. And definitely, when you take it apart, you have to be really, really careful not to drop the hammer without the slide on it. Because there's this thing here, is it a hammer strut or something like that it's called? You will break it, you will bend it. It's all over the internet, people going like, I did this and this is what happened, what do I do? You don't want to be messing with that. Just trust me. Don't dry fire these things. But definitely, if you just do one trigger pull with the slide off, like I have to be really, really careful. Like when I take it apart, I guess you could just gently drop the hammer and leave it like that, because you don't want it back where you could accidentally hit the trigger and set it off. You know what I mean? It's that serious. And you know, I blow everything off. So if I'm telling you to be careful with that, trust me, be careful with that. So what do we do here? So we lock the slide back. This is where it starts getting weird immediately. See that button in there? So we get it in a position where we can control the slide, and we press that button, which will release the slide because it pushes the slide release out a little bit. Then we can slide the slide right off. Now again, like I said, you want to be careful not to drop the hammer. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not even going to take the chance that it slips off my thumb. But I am going to show you that the ejector, you needed to change the ejector. How cool is that? When did you ever see anybody do that, where it's just a part that just drops right in and can be replaced that easy? But it could also be lost that easy, so you definitely want to be careful with it. I'm going to set it off on the side. Look at that. That is cool, right? Never seen that before. I mean, it might exist out there. Somebody might say, like, oh, he copied that from this or from that. It's not something that you see often. All these little stainless parts are so cool, right? It's so cool that everything he did was stainless. And listen, the galling that they talk about, supposedly the galling is because if you use the same material, like you use the same material slide and the body of the gun, and they say with stainless that you're not supposed to do that. They say with stainless that you're supposed to use two different kinds of stainless so it wears better or differently, whatever. My advice with these, just keep them wet. I use Ballistol. I just, here it is right here. I just keep them wet. And when I'm shooting, like, it doesn't matter if you're not shooting it. You can, obviously, you could store it or just keep it in your safe, in your gun bag, whatever it is, you can keep it dry. But before you shoot it, you know, when you clean it, you can just clean it dry, and that's it, put it away. Unless you're like some guy that like cycles your slides a million times with it just sitting there or whatever. Then you want to keep it lubed. But before I shoot these, I do a couple of shots here on the rails. I lube them up nice, and then I don't really think that I'm going to have a problem with this galling or anything because of that. And it seems like it makes them function nice. And a lot of people saying that they don't function, that could be the problem. So yeah, we have a guide rod here with a spring. Nothing crazy, although there is like a it looks kind of like you can take the barrel bushing off first like you can with a 1911, but you can't, because this spring pushes this out, this like nub right here, and there's no way for you to push it back. It doesn't go in, literally doesn't. And the only time it actually, now that you take out the spring, you can turn this and take the bushing off, and this part actually comes out the front, where you think it would come out the back. You know, like in a 1911, it goes in this way. So just don't bug out if you take it apart, you don't see where it came from. It does go in the front because it's held in. It's held in by the bushing like that, so it doesn't come out. All right, so everything comes out the front except the barrel comes out the back. And there's our slide. And here's where it's going to get really interesting. Let's let's just leave this all here. And let's take a look at some information on blowback firearms. All right, let's get in here now. Blowback. We're going to check this out together. Blowback. I know you think blowback is simple. Come on, that's the simplest. What do you mean? We don't need to like delve into this and really study. Come on, study blowback. There's more to blowback systems than there are to any other. It's the most complicated. It really is. It's an operation for self-loading that obtains energy from the motion of the cartridge case as it's pushed to the rear by expanding gas created by the ignition of the propellant charge. Thank you. There you go. Sounds nice and simple, right? Nope. Now you have to control this with all these other ways of locking the mechanism. It's easy to control it. If it's higher or lower power, it's locking. But with blowback, let's say, is a variable now. The variable is how powerful is the cartridge. Now, as we looked before, we have this. We have the American National Standard Voluntary Industry Performance Standards for pressure and velocity of rimfire sporting ammunition for the use of commercial manufacturers. This is the American National Standard. Okay, so this is going to tell companies that are making ammunition the characteristics. Here's velocity and pressure data for rimfire match cartridges. I'm not on the right caliber here. Where am I? Oh, here it is. Winchester 22 Winchester Magnum. Inside here, it would show what test barrels they're using, how to interpret this data. See what I mean? They give you everything here. I marked off a couple of pages, but you know what? Just looking at it for 2 seconds isn't going to tell you anything. This is complicated. This is seriously complicated stuff. And this shows the standard. And you see they have different manufacturers that are all over the place. Now, when Mr. Grossman was designing this gun, what they were using was 40 grain Winchester Super X. That was like the ammo that was available. There wasn't a million different types of ammo available like there are now. There were only a few. It was kind of new, and that's what they used 40 grain Winchester Super X to design to make this gun work. Okay, so if you're having some issues with it, part of the problem could be the bullets are heavier, the cases might be a little bit different than the Winchester Super X cases were. So that you have to take that into consideration when you learn about what's going on with the blowback operation for this pistol. So here's principles of operation. I suggest you read this. This is pretty cool. Get in here and check it out. Wikipedia has a great page on this. The history goes back a long way for blowback. So there's simple blowback. That was what this appeared to be when I showed you what was going on with the dowel. Let's take a look at some other kinds of blowback systems. There's Advanced Primer Ignition Blowback, API. The primer is ignited when the bolt is still moving forward before the cartridge is fully chambered. This obviously has something to do with some crazy old kind of stuff, because that's certainly not going on with pistols. But an interesting read. You see the different types of designs and how one leads into the next. Delayed blowback is what we're looking at here. We are definitely a delayed blowback system. And in the delayed blowback, now we break it down even further to what types of delayed blowback. There's roller delayed, lever delayed, gas delayed, a chamber ring. We're gonna get back to this one because this one's important. Hesitation locked, okay? Hesitation locked, flywheel delayed, toggle delayed, all off-axis bolt travel. This was a John Browning development, by the way. Off-axis bolt travel. Thought you knew everything about John Browning. Study off-axis bolt travel, blowback, delayed blowback. He invented that. Radial delayed blowback, screw delayed. There's even other blowback systems. Floating chamber. Remember that the gun that we were doing with the David Marshall with the floating chamber, the 22 with that floating chamber? That's a type of delayed blowback. Let's get back to chamber ring delayed. This is us right here. So let's see how this one works. This is the principle. It's not necessarily how every SIG, so you could have different designs of this principle, which was Larry Grossman figured out a design principle that uses the chamber ring delayed blowback principle. When a cartridge is fired, the case expands to seal the sides of the chamber. This seal prevents high pressure gas from escaping into the action of the gun. This is how, the cases work in all guns. Because a conventional chamber is slightly oversized, an unfired cartridge will enter freely. In a chamber ring delayed firearm, the chamber is conventional in every respect except for a concave ring within the chamber wall. When the cartridge is fired, the case expands into this recessed ring and pushes the bolt face rearward. As the case moves to the rear, this ring constricts the expanded portion of the case. The energy required to squeeze the walls of the cartridge case slows the rearward travel of the case and the slide, reducing their mass requirements. The first known use of the system was on the Fritz Mann pistol in 1920, and later on, the High Standard Corporation Model T3 experimental pistol developed by Ott Helmuth von Losnitzer while working for High Standard. Other firearms that used this system were the LWS Camp pistol, the AMT Automag II, woohoo, and the Kimball 30 carbine pistol, which, interestingly enough, remember the Kimball 30 carbine pistol. This is going to come in pivotal for installment 3 of the AMT Hat Trick series. We're going to get back to that. The SIG SG510 rifle family incorporates a chamber ring near the shoulder, which is used to avoid bolt bounce rather than a delay element. So if you've heard that the SIG SG510 family uses a chamber ring, it's not for the same thing. It's for something different than a delay element. The delay is really just because if the slide opened up, if the case was exposed before the bullet left the barrel, all that pressure and gas would blow out of there, would blow up right in your face. It has to stay closed long enough for the bullet to leave the barrel. And with a 6-inch barrel to these, it's just one version of this gun had a 6-inch barrel. To make all 3 of them be able to function like this takes a lot of work. Just to make one with one length barrel a certain way or whatever would be a feat. So I'd love to test all 3 of these, but I only have just this one. But we'll get to how it works later on. But let me see if we can actually see in here what happened to my, oh, here it is. I don't know if we're going to be able to actually see this, but let's take a look in there. Oh yeah, we could see it. There they are. So how many does it actually, where do we have it listed? Somewhere we have a breakdown just of this specific gun. What on earth did I do with it? So here's the thing. This is the Automag II Wikipedia page, actually. So tons of information. Somebody that loves Automags is a very prolific contributor to Wikipedia, I'll tell you that. There were a number of engineering challenges to overcome in designing an auto-loading 22 Winchester Magnum handgun, such as extraction problems. The extraction problems stem. Here's the problem with this round. They stem from the fact that the slow-burning rifle powder of the 22 WMR cartridge develops a late peak pressure. This is starting to go out of my understanding, where I'm just reading it to you, and we're going to have to figure this out together, because this kind of goes beyond this is technical stuff. So it says here that because this is like a round that's really made for rifles, is what they're saying. And the rifles would typically have a slower burning powder because the length of the barrel, you know what I mean? So I guess that's the reason. And it develops a late peak pressure. So with a handgun, this can cause the case mouth to expand and jam in the chamber when fired from a handgun. AMT overcame this issue by drilling 18 holes at 90 degrees to the chamber. A sleeve was then welded over the chamber. It's interesting that I don't really see a sleeve, but providing a sleeve was welded over the chamber, providing a tiny amount of clearance for the excess gas to escape from the first set of holes on back to the second set, thereby relieving the pressure enough to prevent the case from sticking. The stainless steel slide has a large cutout over the barrel to facilitate better cooling and ejection of the spent brass casing. More likely, it's simply to reduce moving mass of the slide to allow for the blowback operation. So I guess that missing metal on the slides for the longer ones were to reduce the weight to emulate the weight, as long as it weighs as much as this one. Or I guess it would have to be a little bit different because the barrel would certainly be longer, but that's how they would tune it, by the weight of the slide. And yeah, there's our holes. I bet you're wondering if it works, right? That's what you want to know. Does it work? Well, I'll tell you this. I got a cool picture here too. There's a guy from England that collects AMTs. He has like a huge website. And what's really interesting is that in England, they have to like decommission semi-automatic handguns. I guess they're just not legal there, whether you're a collector or not. So they make them unfireable. And I guess part of what England requires is that, you can't just make it unfireable by something that could be easily reversed. So they actually have to cut a hole in the side of the barrel. And on his page on the AMT Automag II, he says it's one good thing about it is you could really get a good look at what's going on inside the barrel. So here's the pictures of what that looks like. And here, I got something cool for you. Let's check this out. Saved this just for you when I was firing it. This was the ammo that I was using. So what I do is I try to use, because this stuff is 40 grain. It's federal, but it's 40 grain. I have other stuff that's like different weights, but this does work pretty good, being that it's 40 grain. But check this out. You see that? You could feel it with your finger too. And the thing is, it's not just an accident. They're all like that. Now these all extracted perfectly. This one, not so much. You can see that, I guess, as it starts to get hot. We'll cover that later, but various degrees of how much these went into the holes, let's say. I'll leave that one separate for now also, just in case if we want to check it out again later. But yeah. So I read in certain places them saying that the chamber is fluted. I've heard people say that they think it's actually been written in some publications, even like this is what it's for, that it's for, you know, when you flute the chamber, it's so that the gas gets between the brass and the chamber and doesn't let it stick. It's supposed to aid in extraction. Fluting. This isn't fluting. What this is doing is it's allowing the brass to expand into a recess, delaying it's making it actually stick in the chamber. Where normally you're trying to get the brass to not stick in the chamber, this gun is trying to get the brass to stick in the chamber a little bit, just enough so that it slows it down enough where the bullet's out of the barrel before it exposes the brass. Now, if you're going to do that, you're obviously going to err on the side of it sticking too much, not too little, because if it sticks too little, it can be disastrous. If it sticks too much, it just doesn't cycle. So, you know, it's not a perfect system. I haven't ironed it out yet. You know, when I bought it, I soaked this barrel because this thing was filthy when I bought it. You could kind of tell by the condition of the frame is kind of dirty. You can clean these up, but I'm just afraid about, I don't want to get rid of the lettering or anything like that, so I leave it. But you can clean these really good where they shine again. But I just left it. But the barrel, it was very, very coked up and dirty. The barrel. The barrel I soaked and used a brush to get in there and really get all the deposits out of those little holes. And I'm thinking after, now that I don't know how well it shot before. It was dirty where it was just like I wasn't even functioning well because of how dirty it was. I guess the closer you get it to like being new, it should work the best. Right? Well, I don't know. It again, you have to love them. You do, and it's fun to play with. To tell you the truth, it's like a challenge. Let's put it back together. What was it again? Barrel goes in there. Then we get this little guy in the front, remember? And the barrel bushing around everything. Boom, we line that up. We get the spring and the guide rod in here, up against the barrel. We're making sure we're not pulling the trigger. Don't forget the ejector. Lays along here. That is pretty cool, right? I knew you'd like that. Then we take the slide. And we get the slide on. Let me just zoom back just a touch here. Now let's see if I could see in there and do this with you guys. Get that right in there. Push this back far enough to lock. And we push that in. There we go. We get the mag in. And we're back together. Blish Lock. Let's talk about Blish Lock. It's the next thing we're going to cover. Again, I donate to Wikipedia, so don't give me any credit. I'm sitting here reading Wikipedia to you. I donate, okay? The Blish Lock, a lot of people say that there's Blish Lock incorporated in here. That's why I want to cover it, if you hear it. First of all, this doesn't have anything to do with Blish Lock. Because of the unique material that these are all stainless steel, because the Blish Lock is material related, a lot of people made a connection. Blish Lock is a breech locking mechanism designed by John Bell Blish based on his assumption that under extreme pressures, certain dissimilar metals would resist movement with a force greater than friction laws would predict. It's like a ghost system. In modern engineering terminology, it is an extreme manifestation of what is, it sounds like a ghost, right? It's an extreme manifestation of what is now called static friction or stiction. This locking mechanism was first used in the Thompson submachine gun. It was used in the Thompson submachine gun. Nowadays, it's discredited as a useful firearm operating principle. Almost non-existent effects on the operation and functioning of a firearm. Because of that, firearms which theoretically employed it operate not by the supposed Blish Lock principle, but in fact by blowback operation. And he has some applications here. So not only is Blish Lock not used in this case, it's something that might not actually be anything at all. There might not be anything to it. And that they're saying that any firearms that they're saying utilize this Blish manifestation, that like this dissimilar metals are rubbing against each other in an unpredictable way, a way that science would not predict what the friction level should be, is they're saying that it's nonsense. A lot of these people are saying it's nonsense, but you will hear Blish Lock attached to this. If anyone tells you that's what it uses, it does not. It is delayed blowback, and it uses the, what was it again? Chamber ring. I want to make sure we get this right. I threw that paper in the garbage already. Chamber ring delayed. And we could bring this out again, the 22 Winchester Rimfire. We just did, what rifle was that? The Mossberg 740, was it? And we covered a lot on the 22 Winchester Rimfire. The interesting part about it is that it was introduced as the 22 Winchester Rimfire, and the Winchester Magnum Rimfire is just a extended version of that case. So it makes you wonder if 22 Winchester Rimfire can be fired in these, because in the rifles and stuff like that, it can. It's kind of like a 38 357 thing. And as long as it's chambered for 357, you can use the 38s. But with this being that it's semi-automatic with the chamber or whatever, I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to research that. I wouldn't attempt it. I always go by like what it says on the gun. I wouldn't attempt it without knowing 100% that you're going to be okay. But it'd be kind of interesting to play around with that and see how that acts towards, extraction and things like that. So what else do we want to cover? Well, from the last video, I could tell you there's a couple of things I just wanted to touch on. I spoke about the hardballer, long slide, the Terminator gun. I had vaguely remembered that there was a website. You've got to check out this website. I'm just going to show you a link. I know you say, don't be so lazy, just include a link to it in the description. If I remember, I will, but here it is. Just type it in or whatever. Like, this is the link. or I could just, let me just show you the pictures. I'll show you what's on there. It's a lot of text though. It is cool to read, but there was a guy that designed this laser gun, whatever. So first of all, this picture right here, okay? This is an iconic picture from my youth. I mean, everybody knows this. This was huge. And what's right there, right in your face? AMT. I mean, they're not some like, it's not some like closeted firearms that are junk and all this. Not, like there he is, the Terminator, standing there. I've seen this movie poster for years, and there's an AMT right in your face. And the guy that designed this laser-sighted gun or whatever does a whole write-up here. There's a ton of information on it if you're really interested in reading about that specifically or whatever. This is that's where to find it. And I told you that I would hook you up before I go with tidbit number 2. So here it is. Tidbit number 2 is a YouTube channel, Jeffrey Kelly. This is the name of the channel right here. I guess that's his name too. Hasn't been videos in a little while. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this channel, if he's still active on this channel, whatever. I'm hoping the guy's still alive. I don't know. This is a good friend of Bruce Stark. Some of the videos have Bruce Stark. And again, Bruce Stark, the Automag book. Bruce Stark is in some of his videos shooting Automag. So you check out this guy's channel. He has one of the videos is a Harry Sanford, it's kind of like a biography of Harry Sanford and all the movement the company has done. Tons of information on the Pasadena guns, just all the movement, the Hollywood guns that were made in a freaking garage behind his house, all kinds of stuff. Max Guerra, the guy that designed it, and this guy Barbasowitz that made barrels for them and everything. Just that and these videos and the Automag book will definitely give you as much information as you need on the Automag. And if it isn't enough information, coming up in video number 3, I got to look for this because it was online. I saw all this stuff and it was from years ago, like 10, maybe 15 years ago. And I got to hope that this stuff is all still around. But the ultimate Automag AMT nut made these books where there's like volumes of them with I don't know how there could be that much information. Insanity. But these books were very expensive. I didn't even think about buying them. Literally like over $1,000 for the complete set of all these books. I think they were like made to order books. Not even sure if they're even still available, but that's going to be the last tidbit that I'll show you if this isn't enough. And that's the Automag II, ladies and gentlemen. Woof. Yeah. Listen, functions in your hands the way it should. It feels good. That first mag goes through it so nice, it shoots good. It's just you got to iron out your ammo choice. What's going on with that chamber? I've heard that there's people that have these things and they just run all day. I have also heard that AMTs are weird, where you could have 2 of the same gun. One shoots perfect and the other one not so good. Listen, I take it as it comes. I love these things. I have fun shooting this one. And hopefully one day I'll really iron out exactly what's going on with that interesting delayed chamber ring, and I'll become an expert with it. And it's kind of interesting when the brass comes out, you show people, you go, yeah, check it out, look at that. It's pretty wild, right? Kind of reminds me of the SVT when you have like a fluted chamber and it comes out with those lines like that. Very interesting. AMT, ladies and gentlemen, Arcadia machine and tool. And again, remember, get extra mags when you buy these. I didn't even say anything when we did the last video on the backup that I have a spare mag. I have a backup mag. I only got one with this, but you know what? For a backup gun, you just have like a spare mag in your pocket. That's good enough. But for one like this, just trust me. If it's not like you seem to not pay any extra for the gun when it comes with a bunch of mags. It seems like everyone's just asking the same price. It's just kind of like a bonus. But if you wanted to go out, I'm telling you, if you wanted to go out and buy 4 of these mags, forget about it. They'd be insane. These are the original ones too. I think I read somewhere that the black follower, anyone that ever talked about the follower, sort of like in 2 different places, said the black followers are the original ones and then the red ones are the aftermarket. I don't think so, because of all my auto mags, the red ones seem to be the ones that come in it, the ones I see in pictures. These might have been later on when High Standard was producing them. They might have made black followers. Did read that somewhere else too, but all of these, they work just fine. They're all high quality stuff. But they're originals. I'd stay away from aftermarket. So if you see some guy selling one with a bunch of mags, but they all look like aftermarket mags, I would watch it. Stick to the original stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for AMT, the second installment of the AMT Hat Trick. Third installment is going to be coming up. I think I'm going to be posting this Saturday. Okay, so that would be Saturday the... what day would that be, Saturday? Saturday would be the 2nd. So tomorrow, if I'm actually posting this December 2nd, tomorrow, 11 a.m., Manny Grossman, the Undercurrents with Manny Grossman channel. He's a Son of Sam researcher. He's going to have us on to talk about the 44 Bulldog. We did a nice special video just for him. That's going to be an exclusive, aired there for the first time. We're going to be live, and we're going to commentate on the video. And then when the video is over, bang, I'm going to pop the video up on Milsurp Garage channel, uninterrupted, and you could watch it there. Be really cool to bring some of his listeners over to me, some of our listeners over to him. I love these collaborations. Did one with Walnut and Steel. He was nice enough to refurb our Crossman 1377, and I just really loved that collaboration. With these collaborations, we have a good time. So I hope to see you tomorrow, Sunday, December 3rd, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, y'all take care. Very soon we'll be back with installment number 3. And let me tell you, installment number 3 of the AMT Hat Trick series is going to be blowing your mind up. See you later.